everyone, and welcome to our Insights and Innovation series for this Monday. Today, we have the amazing GoTransit team, our partners, presenting to us, and they're talking about one of their other, sister companies, Ads on Wheels, and also we've got the guys from StreetMetrics as well. We've got the amazing Kirrily Hirst, who I'm sure you guys know. I'll hand over to her shortly. Help me with this last name, Sally Waghorn.
Yep, that's it. Nailed it.
What a great last name. And then Drew Jackson. And Drew is calling from all the way from Alabama. And I think you'll find his accent as engaging as I do. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the guys over to say how it all works together. Kirrily, over to you, my dear.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate the intro as always, and Beck and Tian. And you guys done an awesome job in bringing this together, and we love the opportunity to be a part of this platform. So as you mentioned, I've got Sally Waghorn, who's the Managing Director of Ads on Wheels, about to sort of jump in straight after me. And yeah, really appreciate Drew Jackson, you joining us, Drew, today all the way from the States. It's very, very late there for you, so I appreciate you coming and along for it, the ride today. So I just thought I'd give everyone just a quick sort of overview of the GoTransit business and just where we've evolved across the last 12 years in particular, and just leading into where we've landed with Ads on Wheels, and in particular the AMPed offering that Sal and Drew are going to talk a little bit more about today. So yeah, 2010, so Rick Chapman, Rob Gamble, get the names right without the two R's, founded GoTransit Media Group, and we started as a Queensland-only business. Now, I'm extremely lucky to be based at the Sunshine Coast. I love calling this home, and very lucky to have this as our head office, and that's where we've remained today. Certainly have grown quite significantly across that last 12 years, and head office now has almost sort of 70-odd staff here. We've sort of built an engine room downstairs of designers, campaign delivery, administration staff, and we also do all of our printing out of the Sunshine Coast and essentially dispatch it out to any market in Australia, whether that be for GoTransit or Ads on Wheels, and it could be Darwin, it can be Dubbo, it can be Devonport. So essentially that that network has been built. So a lot has happened in that last 12 years to be able to deliver that. Probably just the main milestones just to cover. In 2014, we acquired another business called Bus Advertising that then expanded our footprint into New South Wales and Canberra. And then we've also been quite successful in other tenders, which have then given us contracts such as Gold Coast Light Rail, bus advertising essentially in the Northern Territory didn't exist prior to us landing there in 2014. And then further to that, there was also Newcastle Light Rail added to the mix as well. So where we've ended at, well, not ended, but where we are today in 2022 is that we are across 120 odd markets with GoTransit Media Group. That is now in every state Australia-wide. So we've just added some dots on the map in South Australia, which is really exciting for us. And yeah, that's that footprint essentially in a regional sense, and where we sit alongside JC is now very much covered. So we feel that, yeah, there's, you know, both a national solution in what we offer with GoTransit Media Group and bus advertising there. So where we've moved across to now is to continue to evolve the business, is with the Ads on Wheels acquisition and bringing that into the GoTransit business. So quite a bit of work's been done across the last 6 months, and most of you guys have probably seen where we've brought that business in and that offering as such. We have Sally, which has joined us as a managing director role. And yeah, that's been a really big step forward for us. Sal's background with News Corp and specifically with News Extend has given us the opportunity to really evolve the Ads on Wheels business, and where we will actually have launched what's called Ads on Wheels AMPed. So that's where I'll throw over to you, Sal, to step through what that is all about.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, Kirrily, and thank you for having us. Thanks to the IMA team and to StreetMetrics team for jumping on as well. It's actually not that late in their world, Kirrily, because they don't even make dinner reservations before 8 o'clock over there. So hopefully not too bad, but we do appreciate you guys jumping on. So for everybody else's benefit, I thought I'd share, just a quick overview of Ads on Wheels, who we are and what we do, for anyone who hasn't sort of heard us so far. We're really pumped with where, the business has come over the last year or so. Essentially, we give advertisers the opportunity to advertise on fleets of privately driven vehicles in any area of Australia. So what clients love is that we can be really hyper targeted with where we're trying to get coverage, but we can also be a bit clever with the types of vehicles that we assign to campaigns so that we can get them seen in contextually relevant environments, but also so that the brand aligns with the vehicle and potentially even the driver's demographic and things as well. So how it all works is our clients and agencies choose their campaign zones. Then we match up, we help you with how many vehicles we think you might need and what wrap type we want to go ahead with. We've now got our new technology amped through StreetMetrics, which we'll tell you about. And then our software will match up the best possible drivers for that particular campaign. And we're actually the only company in Australia that puts our drivers through a full 7-day qualification period. So we use a telematics company and we test everything from if the drivers are braking too harshly or if they're accelerating too quickly. And we use all of that, we gather all of that data and it feeds live through to a client-facing dashboard. And it just gives clients peace of mind to know that every single trip that our drivers do while they're out representing a brand is monitored. And at that same time we do that qualification period, we're also testing where do they drive day to day. So that gives us an understanding of their daily driving habits. And it does mean that we're really the only ones in the country that are able to provide a guarantee on a minimum amount of kilometres in the desired campaign zones, which is really cool. So that is 150 kilometres in regional areas and 250 kilometres per week in metro areas. But what we're finding now is our metro drivers are doing closer to 350, 450 kilometres per week. And then the other side of Ads on Wheels and how we make it all work is our quality drivers. So everyone always asks us, how do we find the drivers and how do we keep the brand safe out on the road? The telematics company and the driver safety is a huge part of it, but also vehicle quality. So we ensure that our vehicles are all under 10 years of age. They don't have any obvious scratches or dings or any other branding. And we get a really diverse range of drivers. We get everything from, drivers who are also doing sort of ride share or food deliveries, Uber, Ola, DD, menu log, all those sorts of delivery services. But we also get really busy parents who are often doing the school run and dropping the kids to sport and doing lots and lots of kilometres each week. So they might as well capitalise and make an extra income on the side. Right up to students and tradies. So when we're putting together a campaign for a client, we can be really clever with geographically what drivers we assign to that campaign, but also demographically as well, which is really cool. Clients love that element of our solution. And look, since its launch, it has been growing and growing in popularity, but the missing piece for us here in Australia has been the measurement. There are companies over in the US, a lot of you would be familiar with, companies like Rapify and Carvatize, who are doing some amazing stuff in this space. And they've had measurement tools in place for some time now. So we're really excited now to be able to offer the same level of measurement for our moving out of home ads, which will hopefully attract businesses that are using this overseas, like with big brands like Huggies and Paramount that you can see on the screen. So essentially now we can offer a full funnel approach. Consumers can see an ad out on the street. We're able to leverage the technology through StreetMetrics, which Drew is going to tell us about this morning as well. And then we're able to actually remarket to that audience and then now offer attribution studies, all off the back of moving out of home ads, which still blows my mind every time we talk about it. So I'm actually going to hand over to Drew now. Drew is the founder of StreetMetrics and a leader in the out-of-home space. Drew's going to tell us a little bit about his story and how this all came about. We're really stoked to be working with you and the team, Drew. So feel free to jump in and tell us, all about how StreetMetrics came about.
For sure. Thank you, Sally and Kirrily for setting this up. It's great to be here with you guys. There's so many people this is awesome. So I think the genesis of this entire thing. Oh, and by the way, I have team members here. So Richard is on, he's our head of marketing, and then Callie Tolby's on, she's our client solutions manager. So sure faces that you guys will run into in the past, but want to make sure that they had a chance to introduce themselves as well. So, I think in short, guys, the genesis of this entire thing was my family is actually in the transportation space. So I don't come from a media world really at all. But my mom's a software engineer and my dad's in the transportation space. So what my dad asked me to do post college was we have all of these white semi trailers that are driving around the country. And my dad said, is there any way that we can monetize these things? And so you think that it would be a pretty easy thing to do because you've got, and it makes sense logically because you've got a bunch of white, large format vehicles that are just driving throughout the country. And what we found was when we started this, there wasn't really a way to measure how many people could see the ad, sort of first off, and secondarily, there wasn't a way to verify that exposure happened. And then finally, there was not any way to connect those dots of saying of somebody exposed, what did they do post exposure? And so I ran into the same set of issues every time I was trying to pitch our product. These ads on semis. Every time we pitched it, we got rejected because of the same things over and over again. And so I was frustrated by this. So I tried working with some of the Nielsen's or the ComScores or sort of the larger measurement players in the States that measure television or radio or whatever it may be. And we were trying to figure out why can't we measure transit? And long story short, it's complicated. I think a lot of it has to do with where the technology space is as a whole. I think that getting access to where a vehicle is from a telematic standpoint has only been something, it's been around for probably 15 years, but really from a usability standpoint, probably the last 8 to 12. So we're just now in a time where it makes it easy to actually get the data from where the vehicle is in real time. But then you've got all of this other data of how do you understand the street? How do you understand the people that were actually exposed? So we tested and we worked with, we tried video, we tried like Wi-Fi sniffing, Bluetooth sniffing, we tried mobile location data, we tried all this stuff, and we ended up settling on mobile location data. And the real reason was it had the scalability that we needed, but it also sort of allowed us to connect full funnel metrics so that we could start to understand what was somebody doing once they were exposed. We can start serving ads to these individuals and extending the brand reach, right? From you were exposed to the ad, let's start surfacing ads on their phones digitally, just trying to create a better experience for the consumer. Was how do we sort of extend and engage with the people that are coming in contact with these ads. And so we started building this, it's probably 5 years ago at this point. And we stopped selling the ads on semis and we pivoted into StreetMetrics. And, from there it has been, I would say this rocket ship of a journey where it went from us, being transportation companies. We had 150 vehicles in our fleet to, you've got companies like Lamar and Outfront and Intersection and, all these guys are asking, hey, can you do this for our public transit ads? And the answer was yes, but it was funny because again, we didn't set out to solve that problem, right? We were trying to sell ads on vehicles, and sort of what we found was that the industry desperately needed a way to understand, what did exposure look like, especially during a COVID world, where the people that are moving in and out of cities are going to change dynamically. They're going to change very, rapidly. I still remember April, May of 2020 when COVID was sort of at its launching point, and I had Geico, I had Samsung, I had LG, all these guys calling because they've got several ads in the States in Times Square for a decent amount of money each month. And yet the exposure data is supposedly still the same pre-COVID, but all these images are out and about of no one's in Times Square. And so, you know, that just sort of reiterated the need for data that was not only accurate, but also timely. And so the data needed to be turned around in a way that it allowed agencies and these brands to make decisions around how do they optimize their spend, and how can they actually verify that the exposure the operator saying is happening is actually, you know, you're actually getting it. So that's sort of how this whole thing, I would say, came about. I can dive into maybe how the technology works. I can share my screen if that would be helpful. But I'm going to stop. And does anyone have questions so far that I can answer? I don't know if that's sort of format or not, but it would probably be easier to go ahead and have questions than before I dive into the technology.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great if you could dive into the tech, Drew. Does anyone on the call have any questions so far for Drew?
We don't often get questions in this format.
Yeah, that's okay. No worries. Yeah,
Oh,
Drew, do you
good.
want to tell us a little bit about the tech itself?
Yeah, for sure. So we have, if anybody wants, I'm going to share my screen right quick. We have actually created a virtual world where you can actually put it on in VR, and you can go walk around if you want. But we have a web version of it as well. But it is it will tell you how the technology, how it works. So this is Richard's Pride and Joy. This is Street City. So it's streetcity.streetmetrics.com. You can check that out. I'm going to pull it up. Oops, wrong button. Here we go.
I love this.
Yeah. So I'm assuming this is sharing. Somebody's
Yeah,
going to make a t-shirt one day, and everybody's going to wear it. Like, hopefully, cool. All right. So in the top right, we can sort of navigate the experience. So we'll just look at visibility cones to start. Well, we'll start a little before then. We'll do coordinates. So the first thing for us is really, it's getting access to how that vehicle is traversing and how is it moving throughout a city. So this could be anything from a bus to a light rail, to cars, right? Taxi tops, really, you name it. We have to get access to the real-time location of that vehicle. So that data is being tracked, as Sally was talking about, via the GPS device. And you know, from there, that data is being sent to us. We're actually doing trajectory analysis to figure out how that vehicle is moving in the real world, what roads it's driving on, you know, how fast is it going, all those fun things. But from there, we're sort of on the back end. We're working with Sally and their team to really understand what is the. We'll go this way, see if we can see a car. There's one somewhere around here. Yeah. We really want to understand all of the media formats that these ads can, that these vehicles can support, right? So a car, depending on the type of car or bus, is going to have different ads that can be placed on those vehicles. We want to understand the size. It's you know, how high is it off the ground? How wide is it? How tall is it? You know, what type of ad is it? What type of vehicle is it being placed on? And from there, we build and define what we call a view shed. So these are all of these things in blue are effectively our way of saying if we see somebody, a mobile device within this view shed, we can say they have an opportunity to see these ads. And so that is happening simultaneously as that vehicle is moving. So if you can imagine this car sort of as it moves along, that visibility cone is also going to move with it. And it's all going to be time stamped. So as the vehicle updates its real-time location, we're also we're going to be comparing that against the mobile devices. And it's a little hard to see maybe on these screens. We have green dots and red dots. So this is effectively of our sample, right? It's impossible to get access to every single mobile device that exists due to a number of technical and privacy and security reasons. But we're looking at a sample of mobile devices for which we then identify, does that device, show up within the view shed when that vehicle is in that specific location? And so we match and we effectively hold those devices. And then what our team is doing is we're looking at all the devices that are coming into us on a regular basis. And we have built a model that allows us to normalize mobile location data to population. And why do we do this? This is because we can't get access to everybody's phones. And so it requires upsampling. And so what we would say is our impression model, what is our impression modeling? So all these yellow dots are, the people that were actually exposed to the media, but there's no way from a data standpoint to actually track, was that person in that specific area? And that's just due to how the data is coming in. They may not have agreed to the terms of service on their phone. They may not have an app open. They may not, they may not have a location enabled, whatever it may be, right? And so we see this data, and we're building a model to predict how many people were actually in this area as a result of all the little phones that were actually observed. So this is being done for the entire country, and so our data science team is working through those models, and that model is updated every 24 hours. So that we can, say, when you see 2 devices next to a vehicle at 2 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, and that means that there's actually 12 people in that area, or maybe it's 50, whatever the number might be. And so we've worked with several companies to model and verify that exposure actually equals the people that we say it does. And so we've hired independent observers to look at open street camera data and have our vehicles traveling through those areas at the same time. And then we actually do modeling to figure out, how accurate is it. And on average, it's between about, 9 to 13, 14% accurate, plus or minus, which is a pretty tight window given the complexity associated with all of the different data points that we've been provided. And yeah, so we then take all this information and we surface it back to our customers, and they can include it in from a planning standpoint, from reconciliation around impression measurement. But because we captured the unique device of the individual that was exposed, we can start to place pixels on websites and start to get integrations into different MMPs to understand how many app downloads you're getting, or how many specific events, new orders or repeat orders that you're getting for different brands. We can track in-store visits. We can track who turned back on the television. Right? There's all kind of cool little things that we can do through our partners. And so, yeah, that's sort of where StreetMetrics has come to now, I would say. We work with several folks here in the States. We're really excited to expand into Australia. It's a little surreal, right, to be talking to you guys right now. I as much as I have an accent, you guys have an accent to me, which is awesome, and I love it dearly. But it's really cool that we've been able to sort of share more about StreetMetrics and the such. So, yeah, I think that's a good overview. I think the only thing we haven't really talked through, Sally, is maybe how some of our clients are using it in the States right now. Which we can dive into if we still have time. I'm not sure how we're doing on time, or if we've.
Yeah, what types of businesses are you seeing using this type of measurement over in the US?
Yeah, so it really is. I think it varies depending on. I think it varies depending on the type of customer that it is. Type of media format. It's funny that you threw Carvertise up there. Carvertise is actually one of our partners. So it was fun seeing their logos up there. Yeah, I think that really there's a couple of things. There's an accountability and a layer of transparency that many agencies and brands haven't had access to before. So whether it's cars or whether it's buses, holding the sort of those operators accountable for the actual mileage and the location that those vehicles traveled is really important. Which has sort of allowed for future impression planning and impression guarantees, so that you can go into a media plan confidently saying, all right, we're going to actually get you, you know, the 3.5 million impressions that you bought, or the 30 million impressions that you bought, whatever the number is, right? There's finally an ability to reconcile exposure. We see this throughout television, we see this throughout digital, but for outdoor, there hasn't been a way to reconcile exposure. And so if your customer doesn't, well, if you're, let's just say from an operator point of view, if we realize that you're not pacing to reach the impression threshold that you had guaranteed, we can start to throw more, our clients can start to throw more vehicles on the road in real time, so that they can actually reach those impression numbers that they may have guaranteed. I think it helps with winning RFPs with transit authorities. You know, a lot of the things here in the States are pretty competitive, and so with Outfront, with Intersection, Vector, right, Lamar, Clear Channel, whomever, like those, for them bidding on these bidding on the rights to sell ads on the inventory is sort of a big deal. So if StreetMetrics can help take money away from other mediums as a result of, you know, providing a technology that buyers are used to seeing online and other, you know, media formats, that's really a win. And then I would say attribution. There's been a really heavy emphasis on attribution. So I would say website visits are probably the main one there. With apps being second. Just really trying to understand how well these ads are performing. And so for cars specifically, I would say that a DTC's brand, we've seen a heavier lean in for that sort of category here in the States with this media, like on vehicles and such, because there's a really easy way to spin up. I think that several companies have figured out the operations to get an ad up really quickly, and so when you have that next to some verification tool, it makes it really an easy buy for these agencies, which has been big. So. Yeah, that's
very good. Thank you, Drew. I guess just to close up from my end, yeah, we're really excited what the new StreetMetrics tech means for us as a medium. You know, the medium itself is already really favored because of how hyper local we can be. So it's great for local area marketing, product launches, sale events or store openings, hard to reach markets where there's limited other out-of-home options. And then, of course, things like swarm activations just have way more depth and value now that we can implement the tech as well. So, yeah, thanks very much.